But guess what? That means we are now ready for our feature readers. Woohoo! Laurie Blakely famously made her Alberni Valley Words on Fire debut by demonstrating how it is all in the delivery. As she read the technical instructions for installing her, was it a dishwasher or a refrigerator? Fridge. Anyway, it was all so freaking funny as hell. Everybody was laughing so hard. And that's how Laurie got her start here as the resident stand-up comedian for AVWOF, as Jackie likes to call it. I just say Alberni Valley was on fire. Laurie continues to delight audiences with hilarious anecdotes of visiting the hospital or chasing a bus in Vancouver. It's been so long since I've heard any of these things. Laurie also has a serious side and a serious message to remind everybody that women are different from men in several ways, especially when it comes to receiving medical treatment. It is vitally important that society learns these differences and respects them in order to help save women's lives in times of medical emergencies. Okay, I digress there for a moment. So now let's all turn our attentions to Laurie Blakely.
Woohoo! Hello, hello. So I confess that I've never been more ill-prepared than I am tonight. I know I'm regularly ill-prepared, but today I'm exceptionally ill-prepared for so many reasons. So one, you may notice the change in hair. Yeah. I made myself a promise 12 years ago after I bleached out my hair and had a massive allergic reaction in which my head swole and I turned into the elephant man. And I promised myself I would never dye my hair again. So you get what you pay for, girl. So I decided to do like a whole matching ensemble here tonight. If you could see the shoes even. Yes, I'm rocking the yellow and orange. It's like I'm teasing the sunflowers. I'm mocking the marigolds. I can shine too. So, so many reasons why I'm ill-prepared. One of them, ill-prepared is actually really accurate because, I'm just gonna spit it right out there. I have a parasite. You're welcome. I hope no one's still eating their dinner. You might want to mute me if so. Yeah, some parasites, you actually have to accidentally ingest a flea to acquire. Not what I have. It's ascariasis. And you accidentally ingest an egg, which has come from perhaps ill-washed salad, fruit, vegetables, meat, ill-prepared. Wait for it, it gets better. So you swallow it, and it goes into your digestive tract, where it hatches into a larval form, which migrates through your blood and lymph to any damn organ it wants, usually the heart, and then the lungs, and then it inhabits your lungs and it comes up your trachea, up through the little bronchial tubes, up to your trachea, and when you cough, you swallow the larvae, which go back into your digestive tract and then become little, well, I can't even say it. I might pass out from the thought. Anyway, I'm taking lots of drugs. Yeah. Maybe they'll be killed from the hair dye. Who knows? I do think, I feel like I'm suffering from ADHD, and maybe that has to do with my new internal pals. Yeah, they'll be gone soon. I'm evicting them. So I apologize, I'm so segue free, so random. I've been working on this forever, literally. We just had Father's Day, so I thought I would do a little Father's Day thing, and a little father thing, I guess you'd say. And I started working on this poem. Oh, I so want to write poetry, just to create and spit beautiful, powerful words that can evoke some emotion. And yet I can't seem to sit still for more than 2 syllables, so... But I decided to turn again to this poem that I had started about my father. He was a huge fan of cars. We had a yard full of them. They were my first play toy, his rusted hulks in the backyard. Me, the arachnids, and the rodents would hang out and drive around the countryside. So I started this years ago, and so I sat down to work on it. And Dad, you fueled our desires, but filtered our fun. You radiatored curses, combusting when we pistoned you off. Your timing belting us like a lost dipstick, igniting dreams that alternately flooded and revved us. No emission, all high octane. But I decided that that is so awful, I cannot read that, so sorry about that. My dad was a skilled craftsman. He was an amazing woodworker, which you could translate that as he was a fucking cheap son of a bitch. He was the ultimate do-it-yourselfer. And he would always buy the cheapest of everything and then wondered why it broke. He built several boats, again, because he was too cheap to buy one, and he would furnish them with the cheapest supplies and accoutrements. And we would sail through the summer up and down the coast, over to Prudhoe Haven, up to Campbell River, stop and visit friends on Lasqueti and Hornby Island. We had fabulous adventures, and I'm sure that you could track our voyages by the broken can openers that he pitched overboard when they would break when he was trying to open the can for dinner. For Christ's sakes! Yes, he just couldn't connect those dots between the cheapest things. He was an interesting man. He was a complicated man, and by that I mean promiscuous. Today we'd say polyamorous. But I have some of the best women in my life as a result of my father having met them, including my mom. Well, she and my father both have passed now, but my dad was born in 1921, and he joined the RCAF when he was a young man. He was in the Second World War. He flew in the Lancaster bombers, and he would tell you that he was a navigator, which is true, but he was also the bomb aimer. But navigator sounds less murderous, and he was well aware of that. He received several medals. One of the things that he received was a gold caterpillar pin with ruby eyes, and he joined the Caterpillar Club, which is something that was bestowed on someone who had to jump out of a plane with a parachute made of silk to save their life. And his lifelong friend was his captain during that voyage, who jumped out of the plane but was too close to the ground to deploy their parachute. Sorry, I'm verklempt. Jimmy Martin remained my father's lifelong friend, but lived on the other side of the country. When my father's health was failing, Jimmy came to sit with us, because that's what you do for the people that you went to war with. My father wasn't very pleased about the end of the war. He wrote on the box of one of his medals, "Medals from the air war in the blazing skies of Europe to make the world safe for international fascism." He wasn't impressed with the political aspect of life in those days. He was a member of the CCF, which later became the NDP. He was in AA for over 45 years. And he was a typesetter by trade for probably the same amount of time or longer with the Pacific Press in Vancouver, publishing the Vancouver Sun and the Province newspaper. He gave me my nickname of Lolly. So I'm trying to adopt Lolly B as my name, my moniker. He used to sing the song, "Lolly Too Dumb Day." However, my father was not a religious man. That is Latin for closer to God. So I think he was really just singing about the stupid accomplishments of my day. He also used to sing a song that came from his time stationed in England during the war. It was from, I guess, a poster inside the train which went like this: "Passengers will please refrain from flushing toilets while the train is standing in the station." Our family didn't know a lot of songs, but we sang that together. My dad loved to eat at Greasy Spoons. He knew where all the best ones were in Vancouver. The only seafood. For Chinese, we'd go to the Green Door or the Orange Door. And he also loved a really good curry. So he introduced me to a lot of fantastic foods. He had, let's see. I apologize for being so discombobulated, but, you know, that's what happens. He was an amateur gunsmith. He detested the NRA, another representation of his being such a contradiction. But he would rebuild guns, and he'd take them apart and repair them for people, build new stocks, all kinds of things. When he passed away, we found 250 guns stashed in his little house in every conceivable spot, including the gun safe that he installed in the back of his closet. Most of his guns were Webleys, or like a CO2-powered gun. A Webley is like a gun that you crank it to load it, so it's like a trigger action. You load the spring. And he wasn't into handguns, as I said, and he detested the NRA. But we all got to get in some really good target practice in the backyard. So my dad was a peace activist, and from my earliest memories of like 5 or 6 years old in Vancouver during the Summer of Love, we would go to be-ins in Stanley Park, and we would march to ban the H-bomb and go and listen to Peter, Paul, and Mary play in concert. When he split up with my mother, he got a whole new wardrobe. My parents were in the 40s when I was born, and everyone thought that my parents were my grandparents until my dad grew his hair long and started wearing bell-bottom pants and bubble-toed platform shoes, and he was just so cool. He was definitely part of the turn on, drop out, tune in, because he would hang with the hippies in Kitsilano, who became his friends. He was a champion of First Nations, their art, and their challenges. He had many friends that he didn't just learn about their culture through, I don't know, of course we didn't have social media then. He actually was friends with them, dated them, went back to their communities, ate their food, really got to understand what it was like to be in that culture. And I'm so grateful that he bestowed that knowledge on me so that I have a better understanding. As I mentioned earlier that he loved cars, he first of all started with the Hudson Jets. And he had all these rusting hulks in the backyard. When Hudson became part of the American Car Corporation, he would buy the Pacer, the Gremlin, the Hornet, the Ambassador, the 4x4 Eagle. If you don't know these cars, Google it later. They're hysterical. My father drove all of the cars that other people pitied. And finally, he landed with a Lada. He had several of them. You don't see them on the road anymore because they've rusted into nothing. What else can I tell you? Yes, some of the lovely stories of my father. He would often have my son and my son's cousin, so he would have his two grandsons come to visit. And oh, though they could be little hellions, and they figured out that they could phone between the bedroom phone and the kitchen phone and make it ring. And so my father would get up off the sofa and stroll over to the phone. Hello? No idea that it was his grandsons in the bedroom. And they would do it. They would repeat it. Hello? No one there. And on the last time of the hello, he could hear giggling, and he finally figured it out. And he chased those kids blocks away from the house. Another famous time when they were in the bedroom, supposed to be sleeping, but they were jumping on the bed, and my father finally burst into the room, exasperated. If I've told you kids once, I've told you 1,000 times, quit jumping on the bed. And my son turned to him and said, yeah, and I'm getting sick and tired of hearing it too. Ooh, I'm pretty sure he had a little tanned hide that day. I'm going to ask Char, how is my time going? Are you getting bored? Oh, I have 5 whole more minutes. Woohoo, 5 minutes. Buckle up, honeys. I'll tell you some more tales. He was... again, the oxymoron, the vigilante. We lived on a street that had these 2 ridiculous 45-degree turns. And people were constantly putting their cars in the ditch. And of course, there were always kids playing on the street. And he would get so pissed off when speeders went screaming by the house. If they didn't land in the ditch, he'd jump in the car and chase them, because you're not going to speed in my neighborhood. Only I can do that. When cordless phones were a new thing, he was at his place, and I happened to be chatting with him. And he took his phone outside for a stroll because he could. And he walked up the hill of his driveway onto the boulevard in front of his house, and there was someone walking their dog, and they'd stopped so that the dog could shit on the boulevard in front of my father's house. And all of a sudden I hear my father railing at this dog walker, "Yeah, I'll be right over. I'm gonna come and shit in your front yard, asshole." He was definitely irrepressible. He taught me how to sail. He taught me how to fish. Perhaps some of the simultaneously best and worst advice he gave to me as a troubled teenager was, "Be cool, Laurie, be cool." I think I'll wind it up there. That's enough of parasites, and father's long gone. So have a great evening, everyone else. Thanks for doing this, Char. Yay!
That's awesome. Woohoo!
Do we have any questions out there for Laurie?
Yeah, I have a question. What I would love to know from Laurie is she like her father in any, does she think about it and think that in certain ways she is like him? And if so, you know, what gifts did he give her that she has brought like in her personality?
Yes, I'm like him in so many ways, and I really work hard at not being. When I was growing up, everything had to be someone's fault. So that's something I've worked on in my life and with my own kids, to just be like, okay, sometimes shit goes down, and we don't blame someone for it. But I actually look more like my mother. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Helen asked when my dad passed away, and he passed away in 1997. Yeah. And he said when he got his diagnosis, he had renal cancer. And he said, he was 75, and he said, "But I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up."
Most of us don't.
We don't have to.
Well, we don't have to grow up.
That's right.
Well, being gay is not a choice, but growing up is.
So,
I have a question for Laurie, if there's time.
Yes. Go ahead, Don.
Is that parasite fictitious or actual?
Sorry?
Is the parasite fictitious or real?
I wish it was all in my imagination, Doc.
Okay.
It's not. Ascariasis.
Well, think of it as your version of being Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, Dawn, just only you would come up with that kind of thing.
Well, at least you don't have to take your clothes off yet. In that movie, right?
Any more questions for Laurie?
Stephen, I got one for Laurie, please. Oh, sorry, Bob. With your different, all your different outlets, how do you prioritize between the poetry and the comedy and these very cool different media of yours?
Yeah, I think I don't. That's why I think I'm cruising into ADHD. Like, I'm just so scattered. But yeah, I mean, I'm pursuing anything that I can around performing arts. So there we go.
But aren't all comedians scatterbrained? I love you, Laurie.
'Cause I don't.
That's what gives the humor.
That's, Yeah. So true.
Yes, that.
One last question. So,
One
are
last.
you are you getting treatment for that parasite since it's real?
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I missed it.
Are you getting treatment for that parasite?
Oh, I sure am.
Okay. Because as you were telling me about this parasite, I was having my dinner.
Thought I heard something.
That's on
It
you,
feels
Doc.
good though.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laurie. That was wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Laurie.
All right. Thank you, Larry, and thank you for everyone asking questions.